What's going on YouTube? Burlington Northern HO fan here, and today we've got a part 2 to our GG1 kit bash. So in the last video what we were doing is getting an Athearn SD40-2 chassis and attempting it to fit in here. Last time we modified the glass and we were deciding how we were going to modify the chassis of the SD40 chassis. Well, it's been about a couple weeks. I have found a chassis. It is not a Athearn chassis, but it is an SD40-2 chassis. It is an AHM plastic frame chassis. Now I know these aren't the greatest, but if we take this chassis over the track real quick, we have this chassis on the track and it runs like it's brand new. This is at half power. So I think it's a good candidate to use for our kit bash. So yeah, that's my plan. It's a good running AHM chassis. I think it'll work perfect for what we need it for. Now, if anything or anybody are wondering, it was a Chicago Northwestern SD40. And I didn't love it. And I know there's plenty of them out there. There's plenty of these old plastic AHMs out there. And I didn't want to go through the process of trying to fix these handrails and, you know, fixing the deal with these couplers, and I didn't want to go through all that. So I'm just going to take the parts that I need from it, and it should just drop right into that. Because if we look here, we take our shell. If we get the handrails off and we do something about the steps, I think we might have a winner here. So let's, I don't know what the heck that was. Oh, it was the plastic light from the chassis. So what we're going to do, or what I'm going to do, is I'm going to cut these handrails off. Because we're not going to need them. And this whole chassis is a plastic frame chassis, so it's very easy to modify. Now, I'm not going to get rid of the handrails because I could glue these, well, I'm not going to get rid of this handrail because this handrail I can use to glue on to any of other plastic AHMs I might get my hands on. Same with these front ones here. But we're gonna cut them down at the base and just cut them off. Because we're not going to need them for what we're using this chassis for. These couplers on this chassis are also not the greatest, so I don't think they're going to work for what we're going to be needing it for. So let's get these off of here. And that one kind of flew away. Alright. Now that we've got all the handrails off, let's take a look and see now. Alright, so we're definitely going to need to cut the steps off. But the issue with that I think we're going to run into is that these coupler boxes are part of the plastic for those steps. Now, I'm thinking maybe what I can do is just cut around it. So like here. There we go, you guys can see. Cut here so that the plastic doesn't, you know, if I can, I'd like to save these couplers, but I don't think they're going to be usable. But we can try to save them first. So what I'm going to do is, because this shaft goes all the way down to the top part of the frame, I'm going to try cutting around the shaft and just cut the steps out, and that might work for us. So let me give me a second. I'm going to try with the cutters first, and if not, I'll go get my Dremel. Alright, so I did just that. I cut everything off that I needed to cut off that wasn't the couplers, or the system that they got going on for these couplers. And it should just drop right in over that. So now I'm going to do the same to this side. We're just gonna cut right there, and right along there, and then I'm just gonna break it off. Now again, I'm only doing this because this is a cheap eBay find locomotive that I got, and I don't really care too much for it. I'm not attached to it, so I would rather have a GG1, a working GG1, than have a locomotive that is sitting doing nothing. I'd rather have a locomotive that runs. I'd rather have a locomotive that's sitting and it runs, just sit there. I'd rather have, okay, what am I trying to say here? I'd rather have a running locomotive that actually runs around my layout than have a running locomotive that just sits on a shelf. And because I don't want to run it. So, I'd rather have something that I'd actually run around and like watch it run around. So now we've got our chassis here. It looks like I need to do some more modification. Give me 1 second. Let's see if we can modify it a little bit more. So I actually ended up having to take more off because it does not want to fit, unfortunately. But so we're gonna have to take some more off. We're gonna have to figure out some other way to get coupler boxes onto this locomotive, but I'm gonna cut a little bit more off here with my Dremel, and then we will keep trying to get this to fit in there. Alright, so I ended up taking a decent amount off this locomotive to get it to want to fit properly. So I'm actually going to probably cut a little bit more off the top there. Give me 1 second. Let's just go over here and just kind of a little faster. Okay, get all that melted plastic off of there. Now we should see, actually I might want to do this too. Put a weight in here from the top of when it was sitting in the top of the other chassis. So see, that truck is sitting straight. Yeah, see, that truck is sitting where it's supposed to be, and this side is not because of this. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna take off this piece. Okay. Now we're gonna take this. Now it's pretty much stripped to bare bones at this point. So let's see. That actually looks pretty good. Looks pretty straight. It doesn't look like it's sitting off to one side at all. It's sitting the perfect level out of the truck. Here, let me set it down. It's sitting perfect height where the locomotive shell is not going to be touching the rails. The only issue I see that we might have is the couplers, but we can figure that out later. One more thing that I want to do though, so I want to take the locomotive while it's upside down, while we've got the pieces in here like this. I want to take this piece, which was on the bottom of the old weight, and put it here. So what I'm gonna probably have to do is cut these pieces here and here, and just glue it to the side of the SD40 gas tank, because that looks like it won't. So let's see. Let's do one of these. And now we should be able to just glue to the side, maybe? Yeah, that should work. Now I'll have to figure out another way to secure it to the shell of the locomotive, but that could be for a later day. Give me 1 second. Alright, we've got the locomotive all put together. Let's go take it to the track and see what it does. And there we have it, guys. A GG1 kit bashed running on our layout. A GG1. I'm not completely sold on this idea yet, but I'll have to grab some hot glue and hot glue those side panels that I put on, because they didn't seem like they wanted to go on too well with the super glue. And I'll have to do something to hold the chassis into the locomotive. But other than that, I think the locomotive is running pretty good. And I've got a GG1. We just have to figure out what we got to do with the couplers. There'll be probably another video on this locomotive, and then we should be done with this guy. So I'm pretty happy with it right now. If you guys like this video, please leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Peace.